Well, welcome everybody to this session of a Self-Publishing 101 talk. I have a special guest here that I am so super excited about. Her name is Ethleen Sawyerr, and she is coming from Georgia tonight to talk to us about copy editing. So Ethleen, thank you again so much. I'm super excited that you are here. Share a little bit about yourself, what you do, and about your company, and anything else you'd like to share with us.
Thank you for having me, Jill. So I am the founder of 𝗦𝗙𝗧𝗧𝗧. We provide English language services from editing and proofreading to ESL instruction to ELA tutoring. And the editing piece, so we work with authors and small business owners, and we help polish their manuscript. We enhance it so that they can be confident in when they go to publish. A little bit more about me. So as you said, I'm in Georgia and I'm from Sierra Leone. I like to tell people that.
Oh, nice. Cool.
Yes.
That's a fun fact. Nice. And you also are author of one book, many books?
Yes. So I wrote a book last year. It's called Defiant, Redefining Singleness at 30 Plus. And it was sort of a little birthday gift to myself to kind of chronicle my single journey.
Cool. And did you self-publish that, or did you traditionally publish?
I did. So because I self-published, I know exactly what authors go through, independent authors go through, and I can assist. I assist many of my clients actually because I can relate to the stages they've been going through or they are going through.
Awesome. That is really cool. Thank you. Awesome. Well, I'm so glad that you are here. Really excited. Was really excited to see, all that Ethleen did with her website and everything. And I'll put all of the information to contact her and her website and everything in the video description below for anyone who wants to contact her after this video and check out her services. And a little bit about me. My name is Jill Archie. I am the owner of 𝗏𝗡𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, which is a small self-publishing resource for writers who want to go through that self-publishing process. Maybe it's your first time, you have no idea what you're doing. That's where I was a few years ago when I first self-published my book. And this is a guide, an online course that takes writers from notebook to that published, finished book at the end of the journey. So there's 7 steps, 38 lessons, lots of checklists, videos, tutorials, but it takes you through every single step so that you can make sure you're publishing and doing everything correctly, but also not missing any steps, and have a really high quality book so it looks and can be given out and portrayed like a regular traditional book would look with that high quality. So I'll put my information for that course in the link below or in the description below, and as well as some free resources for anyone who is interested. So all right, so we are going to be talking about copy editing today in particular, which I've done a little bit of editing in the past. I used to, but it was very academic. And so I know this is a little different, but it's more of that grammar. It's more of the mechanics. So explain really a little bit more about what copy editing is, just so we're all on the same page, and what people can expect when they think of copy or line editing.
It's basically looking at your manuscript, looking at your paragraphs, your sentences, and trying to edit in such a way that it flows, right? So is me going in, maybe moving your clauses around, canceling out redundancy, making the author aware of, well, maybe this word would be a better choice. So it's more intense. Whereas copy editing, we're still doing that, but not as much. It's a lighter version of line editing, really and truly.
Okay, cool. Awesome. So what kind of feedback? So does the writer receive a lot of feedback from you, and how much what can they expect on that page? What does that look like?
So with a copy edit, it might be, okay, consider this word choice, or let's eliminate this word, like very. Very is a word that I find a lot of authors use. And so, I may provide an alternative. So instead of very nice, excellent, wonderful, spectacular. So let's beef up our word choice. Copy editing would also be mindful of how you write your sentences. If you have a run-on, we'll point that out to you. Okay, put a period here, break up the thought because you're moving from one thought to the next thought.
Cool. Cool. Awesome. Love that. Yeah. Because that's definitely needed. You've got all those different stages, not just the
Yes.
story, but it goes down to all the mechanics. Yeah. So give us an example of kind of the process that you go through. If a writer goes to your website or meets you, whatever, and decides they're looking for a copy editor, what are your first steps that you would take? What can they expect from you when they first start working with you?
So when working with a potential client, we always have a consultation. I say to clients, potential clients especially, please let's have just a brief chat, just so I can get an idea of who you are, what your manuscript is about, because I don't want to represent you and I want to know what your goal is. Is your goal just to say that you have written a book? Are you trying to build a brand? Are you trying to launch a business? What is the purpose of writing this story? And then, we'll go through the whole conversation about giving a quote. I always also recommend that writers get a sample edit, because professional editors will not give you a quote without looking at your text first, because writing, everyone writes at different levels, right? And the way it works in the editing world is the more work the editor has to do, the higher the charge is, right? So let me look at what it is that I'm working with. And I set up to 5 pages. I don't need a whole lot of text. Send me up to 5 pages. I can get an idea of your writing skills, and then I can give you a quote from there. So I do a sample edit, which is completely free. And then from the sample edit, I get a quote, I provide a quote, and then we can begin working.
Cool. And is that, I know there was something we were going to talk about with scammers in particular. This seems like a good place to kind of talk about that. Is a lot of what you've said are some good things to ask someone if it is your very first time. Can you kind of elaborate on that? What are some other things that people can look for to make sure that they are working with someone who has a legit business and will give them the quality that they're looking for in that service?
So I always recommend, actually I say to clients, if the price looks like it's too good to be true, it probably is. Editing is a mentally taxing job. And so if editing is my full-time job, even if it's not my full-time job, even if I'm doing it on the side, but I have been trained and I have the credentials or I have the experience and all of that, it's going to take me time to get through a 100,000 word manuscript. So if I'm charging you $300 to line edit a 100,000 word manuscript, it's a scam. Because realistically, 100,000 words could take anyone anywhere from, I don't know, maybe 10 hours to 20 hours or something. Like it's an arduous task, because we don't just sit and edit for 8 hours straight. It is so mentally draining. We need breaks. And so definitely, if you see a low price that seems like it's too good to be true to edit a manuscript, it's likely a scammer. If someone says that they can edit your 100,000 word manuscript in 2 days, it is a scam. Again, realistically, most editors, I wouldn't say most, I won't make that generalization, but for me, I like to take breaks in between my edits. So realistically, maybe I can get through 6,000 to 10,000 words a day. And that's if I work most of the day. So it'll take me a good maybe 7 to 10 days to get through that 100,000 word manuscript at the very least, if I'm working full speed. So if the price seems too good to be true, if the turnaround time seems to be too good to be true, and then you really do want to ask your editor or potential editor for credentials. You want to ask that person for, a portfolio or a sample. If they don't offer a free sample, then ask them, well, who have you worked with in the past, and verify. Due diligence in this space is super important. And I know a lot of professional editors, such as myself, we catch a lot of flack because of the scammers.
Just is what it is. It's all out there. Yeah. So it's hard, but yeah. I think the big thing, is references, word of mouth, getting that out there. And even doing like Zoom calls or even a phone call is a huge step to show, oh yeah, this is a real person. And talking, you can tell when you actually have a conversation with someone. Sometimes very different when you're just typing something in an email or a message or whatever like that. So what is typically, I mean, you kind of went over that with your timeline. So what does
Mhm,
your timeline look like when you're working through the copy editing kind of phase with a writer? I know it's going to vary by project, but kind of
mhm,
what can they expect on that with revisions, and
mhm.
how long is that what's kind of a typical time frame?
So because this is what we do, and I say we because I do have a team, so I have
Mhm.
other editors who I work with. What we do is under 10,000 words, we can get through 3 to 5 business days. Up to 25,000 words, 7 to 10 business days. 50,000 words, 10 to 15 business days, and then anything over 50,000 words is a customized. We'll kind of have to work with you based on our schedule. But essentially, what happens is we'll do the first round of edits within that timeline,
Mhm.
and then we'll send the work back to the client. Now, we don't pressure our clients. If you want to take 4 months to get through our first round revisions, that's totally on you. And once you do that, then you can send it back to us and we'll do the second round of edits
Cool.
within a
And
shorter time frame, because the heavy lifting was really done in that first round.
right.
Mhm.
Cool. Cool. Nice. Nice. So really, I like that it's really flexible for
Yes.
the writer. That's nice. That's really nice to have. Okay, let me keep looking at my list of different things so I don't forget anything. We talked about feedback. How do you provide your edits to a writer? I mean, do you do them through email? Do you do Zoom
Mhm.
calls? What kind of system do you guys use?
So the way we do it, and again, because many of our clients are first time authors,
Mhm.
so we won't necessarily hold your hand, but because I've been through the process and I know what I needed when I was going through it, we try to assist maybe a little bit more than other editors. So essentially, that first round, you'll send us a Microsoft Word document, we'll go through the revisions with track changes, and then if I say to my clients, review those first round edits. If you have questions, then we can get on a call up to 30 minutes and we can discuss the specific questions you have. Sometimes if they're doing developmental edits, maybe then they might say, well, how do I add more content? What else can I put
Mm.
here? What do you mean fill in the gaps? If they're doing copy editing, they may just get stuck. Like, I don't know what other word to
Yeah.
use. Um, or, I don't like that you put a period here. What are the other options? What's another way for me to connect these two thoughts without necessarily a break?
Mhm.
So that's more stylistic, right? But we can get on a call. We get on calls with clients. We offer that to them. And then if they're still stuck, we can get on more calls. But of course, that would be additional work that we're then doing.
Sure, definitely. Cool. Yeah. What is the most challenging project
Mhm.
that you've ever worked on, and why would it have been challenging for you?
Okay, so I can't, say who the author is or what
Sure.
the project was,
Yeah,
but
no
I worked
bashing.
I worked with one client and it was in the nonfiction category. And I mean, I think the intent behind writing the book was positive, and I understand it completely. But one of the things that's really challenging for me, and it's happened multiple times, but I remember this particular client, is taking the time, going through and editing a manuscript, and then the writer just rejects a bunch of edits that have to do with grammar. So it's not necessarily the narrative or anything about what was being communicated. It was how it was being communicated. And I explained, well, these are the conventions that we have to stick to. Certain things you just can't get around.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You need to use a comma here to connect these two independent clauses. And I mean, it's hard because I'm gonna speak to you in a technical way, and I know it may not fully reach you, but that's the only way I know how to explain it at that point, because I'm saying, for the sake of the conventions, the grammar conventions, we need to put this here. And so it was super challenging, because the second round I had to go in and I had to re-edit basically. And then I had to justify every single thing and explain it. And so that was difficult. And I could see the writer rejecting, even in the second round, rejecting my edits in the second round. And so it got to a point where I'm like, I think I would prefer not to be included in this manuscript as the editor, because it wasn't necessarily work that reflected my editing abilities.
Yeah. And that's an interesting thought when as writers we come to copy editors and and both sides have reputation, both sides have professionalism to uphold. And so it's interesting. That's, I think, a really good perspective for writers to have and remember. It's kind of like going into a job interview, you're also interviewing the other company. It goes both ways.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, so I think it's good. That's really good to remember that. And when we're thinking about that, what other advice would you tell a first-time writer who is coming to an editor for that very first time? Obviously, it's probably best not to reject everything. Obviously, it is up to you if you want to, but if you're going to spend the money and reject, it's kind of counterproductive. But what other advice would you give to someone who first time really starting out to have that good experience with an editor?
I think it doesn't hurt to ask an editor to explain why, right? Like, you know how I said we offer that 30-minute follow-up call after the first round of edits. If there is something that you truly do not understand, just ask your editor why they suggested that change, so that you could get it and it can make sense to you. Because the reality is we all write in a specific way, unless we're intentionally trying not to. Right. And so the writer may not use adverbial phrases correctly. And it's just, they never learned the rules of how to do something like that. I'm just throwing an example.
Sure. No. Yeah.
So, but it's something that they continue to do and they think it's correct, but you send it to an editor and the editor is like, no, completely like marking it off and, deleting it and all of that. So ask the editor, what are some patterns that you see in my writing that I could work on so I can be conscious of it next time? And the reality is, Jill, if more writers were to do that, were to find out sort of what their patterns are, so to speak, and they corrected those patterns, they could save money in the editing process, because that's less work that I have to do as an editor.
Absolutely. That's awesome advice. I mean, it makes so much sense that you actually, it's not just, do this for me, but let me learn in the process and help everybody in the long run. I love that. That's really cool. Nice. So now that we're talking a little bit about, or have been talking about, kind of things to avoid or whatever like that, let's go to the other side. What's a favorite project that you've worked on? What is something that you really enjoy doing or were really proud of, the final piece, or what's a really good experience that maybe comes to mind?
I want to say it was last year. I worked on a manuscript and the writer, she brought it to me and I just kind of immersed myself in it to the point where I wrote things, and I did a little bit more than I should have, but I loved the story. I loved what she was saying. I could feel her heart, so to speak, in what she was writing, but there were gaps. There were things that were missing. And I did a little too much. And in my email to her, when the first round of edits were completed, I emailed her and I said, I did a little bit more than I should have, but I really enjoyed this story. And I tell you, she took that feedback and she made the changes she needed to make. And she has now launched a successful brand and she pushes that book. And I mean, I've gotten compliments rather, from people who are like, I read this book and you did a fabulous job.
Wow. That's cool. How rewarding is that?
Yes.
I mean, it's one thing to just have to, fix commas and periods and semicolons. It's another to actually enjoy the entire project and then kind of see the fruit of that. That's really neat. Very cool. Cool story. Love it. Love it. And I should have probably asked this at the start, but we'll just go into it towards the end. So why did you choose to go into editing in the first place? Why did that interest you?
So growing up, I was an avid reader. I loved reading. I loved going to the library, getting books. I fell in love with reading and writing. I started writing at a young age. And so I was published at a young age, well, first published at a young age. I wrote everything, skits and short stories and all of that. And because I had such a strong command of the English language, English is technically my second language, but because I have such a strong command of
known?
it.
Yeah.
I started learning. I took really well to my English classes and I performed really well. And so I was the person that people came to edit their work. And so as I became older, I did undergrad, grad school. It just kind of made sense, you know? And then when I started the business, actually, fun fact, the business Speak Write Play started as an ESL company. So we primarily targeted, our audience was primarily non-native English speakers. But as my clients started asking for more assistance with their papers and, you know, their job applications or their resumes and things like that, I was like, oh man, I mean, this is a skill that I possess. I'm really good at it. Well, why don't we add editing as a formal service that we provide to our clients? And so we did that about 6 years ago. 5 or 6 years ago. And I mean, we've just been editing since.
Cool. Yeah. Hey, you never know where it goes. That's neat. That's really cool. I love it.
But I will say I do have a degree in English language literature. So it's not just I decided one day I'm going to start editing and charge people all this money. No, I haven't actually. I went to college and I learned the technical aspects of writing and all of that.
Cool. Yeah. No, that's great. I mean, obviously, if you're able to sustain a business, you've got a team behind you and everything. I mean, that definitely says something. So that's pretty cool. And I did think it was really neat that you had the ESL, the English as a second language aspect to your business as well, because I think there's such a need for that and people don't really realize that. And it's a whole kind of beast in itself, because I used to tutor at a college and it was very different tutoring sessions than with someone who had English as their native language. So yeah, it's really cool. So I think that's a really neat, unique aspect of what you guys do. So and let's finish off with a last advice that you can give of how are some ways to save on professional editing services. What advice could you give to writers who are looking to be as frugal as they can?
Okay. Hey, every penny counts, because once you leave your editor, you have to deal with your graphic designer and your layout formatter, and it adds up very quickly. So I don't knock people for utilizing certain websites and resources that I will not name here because I don't want to give them any credibility. But I would say self-edit as much as you can. We offer a low-cost workshop, a virtual workshop where we teach self-editing, just some basics, because, you know, if you can eliminate those run-on sentences, or if you can minimize the amount of run-on sentences, if you can learn how to punctuate dialogue, then that saves an editor, a professional editor, so much time. And the more time you save me, the less your bill is going to be.
Gotcha. Cool. Awesome. That's great. And real quick about your editing services, do you charge by word or you just charge by hour?
We charge per word.
Per word. Okay, cool.
Yes.
Cool. Nice. Did you have anything else that you would like to share, that you would like to let writers know about that we haven't discussed already about copy editing? Anything we've forgotten or that came to mind as we've been talking?
So I think with copy editing, right, understanding exactly what copy editing is. Copy editing is not check the flow of the story, go into the nitty-gritty of every little word. So really understanding when you go to a copy editor, it's because a lot of the heavy stuff has been done prior. But also recognizing that after copy editing, should you choose to do that, is proofreading. So you know, you want to do copy editing towards the end of your process so that the next step is proofreading. You don't have to do a whole lot after that, and then you can publish. I also think that it's important for writers to know that you get what you pay for, right? A professional copy editor, period, it's our time. And so, you know, I understand the budget. If the budget is the issue, try to do as much self-editing as you can. Otherwise, just it pays to pay. It does. It
Absolutely.
really does. Because when you think about it, you're going to pay that one-time fee and you're going to be selling books in perpetuity. So,
Right.
you know, you may not make that money back within the first month, but if that book stays on Amazon or, you know, whatever other platform you're using, if you're going to shows, if you're doing, you know, book signings and things like that, you will get that money back. It's forever. I get that one-time fee,
Yeah.
but you will continue to get the revenue from now until whenever the book is no longer available.
Yeah, that's a good perspective to think about. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. And also that you have some very smart readers out there that will point out to you in reviews if you didn't get your editor done. And so there is also that, and then you might have to do it later and republish.
Yes.
So because people will point it out to you, they're
They
very willing to do that.
They
Yes, it's a good investment, at least to have, even if you can't hire like 3 editors for the development, the copy and the proofreading, at least to get one in there is huge second pair of eyes. So makes all the difference in the world. So cool. Well, again, I am going to put the information to contact Ethleen in the description below. So you can contact her about different editing services. She doesn't just do copy editing. So what are the other services that you also provide? Let's put that in one more time.
So we do it all. We do developmental editing, line editing, copy editing, and proofreading. So if it's not myself, then someone on my team, what we try to do is one of us will do the first 2 or 3, and then someone else will do the final round of proofreading, just to make sure we've done it as much as we can to catch the errors.
Cool. Cool. Awesome. Awesome. So yeah, we'll put that in the description below. And if anybody watching is interested in the entire self-publishing process, because this is just like the initial, this is like what I talk about in my very first module is like the preparation and direction. Let's make sure everything's edited, proofread, and that's the very first step. But if you want to learn about all the rest of the steps, from copyrights, ISBNs, interior formatting, book cover design, publishing platforms to consider, marketing promotion, that's all included in my course. I'll put the information for that in the description below, as well as a free self-publishing checklist. If you want to do a lot of that on your own, you can do that too. So with that, I just want to thank you again, Ethleen, so much for joining me today. Super exciting. It was super fun. Glad you were able to do it. And maybe I'll have you on again sometime to talk about some other editing or just to chat about the self-publishing process. So
thank you for having me, Jill.
Welcome. You're welcome. All right. Well, thanks so much. And I will talk to everybody later.